Most people see a house as an asset when in fact it's a liability. But is it better to buy or rent a house? Watch this video to find out. Before we get started, I'd like to mention that I'm going to start a series on investing in the stock market for beginners. It will be 5 episodes long, starting next Wednesday with episode 1, How the Stock Market Works. Subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss out. Now let's get started with the video. You have probably heard that renting is like throwing money away. While it is better to own a house at some cases, renting definitely isn't throwing money away. You always need a place to live in, and while it is true that you don't build your equity with paying a rent, you don't build it with paying mortgage interest either. Owning a house is kinda like renting, but instead of renting a house, you are renting money. Let's take a look at the list of benefits for both renting and owning. Renting has a lot of benefits, like flexibility for example. If you are a student who doesn't have a career planned yet, or you are going to move soon anyways, then you should rent a house. You also have minimal responsibility when you rent a house. It is landlord's responsibility to do the repairs, for example. You also have more predictable expenses. You pay what you have agreed to pay until the contract changes. You also don't have to worry about neighborhood depreciation. So, what are the benefits of owning a house? When you own a house, you can customize it more to look like you. You also get some tax deductions with your mortgage. If the price of the house increases, you will build equity. Owning a house gives you stability. You don't have to move because the rent rises, for example. So if you have a stable career and you are planning to have a family, you might want to buy a house. It is nice to watch your children grow in your own backyard. While both have their benefits, they also have disadvantages. When you rent a house, there can be many restrictions for things like customizing and owning pets. You might have to move suddenly if the rent rises too much or the landlord decides to sell the house. When you own the house, there are many different costs that you have to pay that as a renter you don't have to, like taxes, insurances, repairs, trash pickups, and so on. Owning a house also takes more of your time for maintenance. The price of the house can also decrease when the market crashes or the neighborhood depreciates. House is an illiquid, so it might take long for it to sell. As you can see, there are many different variables to consider, but what about the financial side? Most people think that the house is an asset, when in fact it's a liability. A house takes money out of your pocket, it doesn't put money into your pocket. The main point I want to make is that renting a house isn't throwing money away. Owning a house also costs you, and you always need a place to live in. There is many different factors that you have to consider when you think about owning or renting a house. When you rent a house, you can invest rest of the money in the stock market, for example. So every cent that you don't spend on insurances, repairs, trash pickups, and so on, you can invest in the stock market, where it will rise in the long run due to compound interest. While owning a house costs more, the price of the house can increase. But when you buy a house, make sure you are buying low and selling high so you don't just lose money. It is not a simple task to calculate if it's cheaper to rent or to own a house, because there are so many different factors to take in. For example, if you rent a house and invest rest of the money in the stock market, you can't really know beforehand how much profit you are going to make. For example, if you invest $10,000 once with annual return of 5%, you will have over $43,000 in 30 years. But with annual return of 10%, it's over $174,000. So a very small difference in the annual return percentage makes a huge difference in the long run. Owning a house might be better than renting in the long run. Let's say you buy a house for $200,000 and in 30 years the price of the house has doubled. However, if you have to move a couple of times during that 30 years, you will have to pay transaction costs, so the profit also decreases. Also, the interest rate on your mortgage affects a lot. So to briefly summarize the main points of this video, it isn't throwing money away when you rent a house. It also isn't always better to own a house. You have to take into account things like investing, annual returns, house market cycles, time, and so on. Buying a house is also an emotional thing to do, it's not only financial. It is up to your personal preferences. Some of us don't want to spend any time on maintenance, while some of us can't stand the idea of not being able to customize their home as they want. So when you decide whether to buy or not, remember to also listen to your emotions. To help the financial decision, I'll leave a link to a calculator that you can check out how different variables affect on renting versus buying. The link can be found in the description. Thank you for watching this video. Leave a comment down below what is your opinion about owning versus renting a house. If you are interested about investing in the stock market, subscribe now for my upcoming series on investing in the stock market for beginners. Have a great day and I'll see you in the next video.